Welcome to the Fire and Earth podcast with your hosts, Jason Mefford and Kathy Gruver. Fire and Earth, giving you the keys to unlock your limitless potential.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Fire and Earth podcast. I'm your co-host, Kathy Gruver.
And I'm Jason Mefford. And today we have a very special guest, Dawna Campbell. And I know we were talking a little bit before we started hitting record. You're going to love today's episode. And when you listen and hear what Dawna has to say and you start doing some of these things, your life is going to change dramatically. So I'm building it up a little bit, but Dawna, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell everybody a little bit about what you do, because it's just fabulous what you're doing.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jason and Kathy, for having me here. I'm excited. This is amazing. And for everyone out there, I'm Dawna Campbell. I am known as the Mind Whisperer because I have an innate ability to help you uncover your hidden subconscious energies, things that are blocking you from creating a life that you really want to have. And we're consciously aware of our thoughts about 10% of the time. The other 90% are deeply hidden and we don't know what's happening. And the law of attraction says your thoughts create your reality, but your thought will only come into existence about 30 to 40% of the time. The other 90%, or the other percentage there to have it come into all of the time, is the thoughts and feelings, the emotions underneath that thought that create the reality. So often we don't know that we are sending out energy signals of, say, anger or frustration or depression or sadness. And when we shift and change those to a higher frequency, then that thought will start creating what you want to have in life.
Yeah, I love it. And you and I talked about this before we had our session. I'm a hypnotherapist, and we talk about how trying to get into that subconscious and tap into those subconscious to release those blocks, to release those limiting thoughts. Sometimes we don't even know they're there. And there's a technique I teach called mental bank that basically rewires your ideas around money and accomplishment. And, you find that maybe you heard your father always saying, "Oh, those rich bastards making more than $25,000 a year." Da, 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 da. So now you make $24,999, and there's part of you that's going, "I don't, and you don't know it. You don't realize that that's programmed in. You wonder why you can never break that ceiling. Who knows what happened that you heard just in passing that got embedded in your subconscious." So I love this conversation. I'm so excited about it.
Yep,
Well, and it's that whole idea. I mean, like you said, right? 95% of what we do is all subconscious. So why can we not figure out? Because it never makes it to our consciousness, right? And so that's why when we're trying to think our way through something, good luck with that, right? Because your consciousness probably is never picking up on it. And it's funny, Kathy, that you bring that up about like the 25,000, right? There are so many of these boundaries that we set for ourselves. People wanting to get to six figures and, I just can't get to six figures. That's a boundary. Yep. 500, a million. I mean, there's like these different boundaries that almost, so many people, they get up to that point and they just can't get past, right? I was that way. I had a boundary up until this last year, right? That I just couldn't get past a certain revenue point. And last year I went past it, right? So it's funny. So Dawna, let's start talking about this, because I'm sure as people are listening, they're like, "Oh, that's totally me," right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I work a lot with purpose-driven business owners, just for that very thing that you said, Jason, because we create these invisible boundaries or these invisible limits that we just can't get on the other side over to get to that next level. And through the process, I can take you through it to get to that next level, to release what was holding us back, getting into the energy that propels and moves us forward. And that's what my book, Financially Fit, is about. I'm formerly a financial advisor and a managing principal. And this book is really all the stuff I wish I knew before I was a financial advisor to help people create that world of wealth that they're looking for.
Well, I was going to say, because it's interesting, because you've got the financial advising background, right? And how much of the time do we self-sabotage ourselves even like that. Maybe as a financial advisor, you might be suggesting something and people don't go along with it, just again because of some of these subconscious things that they're self-sabotaging themselves about.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and I was thinking too how this applies to so many other things. We talk about, I can never find that perfect relationship. I can never weigh 130 pounds. I could, how many people get to 132 and are like, damn it, I have those 2 more pounds. Some of that, of course, is a set point in our own bodies. And though, what is that point where we're sabotaging ourselves, where we get so close and we have the extra 4 brownies? That's not me. I wouldn't do that. I'm talking about myself. But, it's like, no, not at all. So it's like, I see this apply to so many other areas. And when The Secret came out, one of the biggest complaints about The Secret was it was all physical stuff. It was the Ferrari, it was the house, it was the vacation, and this translates to everything, to spiritual development, to emotions, to relationships, to love, so we look at it from the thing of money because that's a symbol and that goes directly to our subconscious. So it helps us apply in all other areas. Do you agree with that, Dawna, or am I off on the?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The reason why I put together Financially Fit first is because money is a form of energy and we are energy beings. So money is the outward expression of who we are. So what's happening in your life is how your money is behaving, because by itself, it doesn't have an intention. But the way the universe works is it's only reading that subconscious frequency that we are sending out and returning that to you. So if we can shift and clear a block around money, it's going to affect your health. It's going to affect your relationships because it's only reading that energy code. To give you an example, I had a couple of years ago had dated this person and I didn't want to date them anymore. It wasn't in alignment. It wasn't, the best fit for me. And I just kind of started pushing back and resisting, saying, no, no, thank you, but no. And a while later, I had sat down and had lunch with a friend. And instead of, hi, how are you? Haven't seen you in a while, it was, what is all this resistance about? And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, you have resistance. It's all around you. What is this about? And I'm like, well, this situation. And she's like, knock it off. You know how this works. You're resisting everything in your life. You're resisting money and you're resisting this and you're resisting that. I'm like, okay, thank you. I'll go work on myself. I'll go change this.
Don't we love those friends?
Right, we do. She totally pointed it out. It was totally true. I didn't know the magnitude of the resistance. I knew there was resistance, but I didn't know how strong it felt until she shared that with me. And then I realized that was running my life and I needed to shift and change that. And when I did, everything else started opening up and all the other opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. So tell us what a session with you looks like, because I had a little, just quick one. I'm about to go book up like a big one, but like, how do you work? How did you figure out, I'm asking multiple questions. How did you figure out you could do this, first of all? And how do you work with individuals?
Okay, how did I figure out that I knew I had this ability to do this?
Yep.
When I left the financial services world, my health deteriorated for 2 years. I couldn't digest food. My marriage ended when I realized that digesting food is about digesting life, and there was things in my marriage I couldn't digest. And then, of course, I became financially devastated, even though I followed all of the money rules. So I had 3 wake-up calls. And those are the same 3 areas clients ask for: health, wealth, and relationships, because we want happiness, prosperity, and love. And it was through that whole process, I ended up living in an ashram, which is a spiritual living community, for a year, because I saw that I was the common denominator to it all. So I started studying brainwave patterns, meditation techniques, science, physics, you name it, because I knew that there was something underneath my circumstances that was holding it in place. I had met a medicine woman who taught me this simple strategy called pivot and shift. And she meant it in the physical context and said that if there's something that's happening in the room that you don't like, you can get up, you can move your body, you can change positions, wash your hands, get a glass of water, leave. Because every time you physically move, it shifts and changes the energy.
Yeah.
And then I realized that you can apply it emotionally, and that in every moment, every frequency, every possibility exists. So if you're in a moment of frustration or anger or depression and you don't like it, you have this ability to immediately shift it. So then I went into private practice as an energy healer, and for 11 years worked with clients internationally. And for the last 2 years, I've uncovered this process that you can use, and I can show you how to use it even, to make those energetic shifts and change it to create that life. So it's been 25 years of me as a financial advisor, me as an energy healer, to put this all together. And it's the process that I use today. So, what a session looks like, we would just connect. I would go into an alternate brainwave pattern. It's a form of meditation. I'm shifting those. And then I ask to enter your space so I can do the energy reading and understand and see everything that's going on. And when you tell me what you want to shift and change, then I start going through different questions to understand where that energy got encoded. And then through that pivot and shift strategy, we change it in that moment to what it was that you wanted.
Ooh, Jason's thinking.
I know it sounds so simple.
It is simple.
It is simple, but it's like you said, it's taken you 25 years to figure out how to do this, right? And so, those of us that are sitting there, and I'm sure, I mean, I've had these feelings. I'm sure everybody who's listening has had these feelings, right? Where sometimes you're sitting there and you're like, God damn it, what is wrong? Why can I not? Whatever it is, right? And we don't know what it is. And so again, moving into that alternative brainwave pattern, right? So we can access the subconscious more, you in your ability to actually be able to read energy of people and start to then ask the questions, right? Because this is one thing that, one of my mentors always tells me, the answer is always within. And you're just helping people. It goes back to that word resistance, right? We all want to resist. And the minute that we stop resisting and allow those answers to come out, then again, you're able to help your clients clear those blocks. And then it's like, right? I mean, you experience that in your life too.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I have to do the same thing for myself. What's interesting is because you don't have to know meditation. You don't need to know how to manually shift your brain waves in order to utilize this. Because I'm in a shared energy space with you. Physics says there's no time and space. And when I enter your space, I become a part of you and you become a part of me. And we are in a shared energy field. Right now, the three of us are in a shared energy field because we're having this conversation. And because I know how to do this, when I enter your space, what happens is energetically, you start shifting your brainwave patterns to start matching mine as an automatic process, and you don't even know it's happening. So naturally, you're going to start feeling calmer or more peaceful or more a little bit different in the process because we've combined our shared energy fields.
This reminds me of the example, because when I teach meditation and mindfulness and affirmations and all this stuff, inevitably I have someone sitting there going, "This is such bullshit." And it reminds me of the experiment where they put two pianos next to each other and they hit one note and the piano next to it started vibrating at that same frequency.
Exactly.
We are all sharing this stuff. We're all sharing this energy. And, I remember talking to my father years ago about some alternative medicine technique that has had really good research behind it, really good. And he was very skeptical about things like that. He's like, well, if it's that easy, why isn't everybody doing it? And I said, have you ever heard of it before? Like stuff can be that simple. Stuff can be this easy. And just because we've not heard of it yet, and you're not reading about it on the cover of Time, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So do you run into a lot of skeptics? Do they even I would assume a skeptic wouldn't even find you, but if you're talking to someone who just goes, this is bullshit, do you have a rebuttal to that?
Not necessarily a rebuttal, but what happens is I'm working with a wife. She'll put the husband on the phone. And this really did happen. He had kidney stones and he had a lot of doubt. Now I had met him before. He kind of knew, but no, not for me. This is still a little kind of different and weird. And one time she put him on the phone because of the kidney stones. And he said that I have to go in next week for the sonar wave procedure to vibrate them out. And I said, well, let's just use the process here. And I sent over energetically, being in their space, the frequency that was needed for him to release the kidney stones. Now I knew I had a week. They were kind of big. There was 2 of them. I saw the before picture. I have the after picture. And I'm like, give yourself a couple of days. But somehow energetically, he totally accepted everything. And less than 24 hours later, I had a photo of those kidney stones out. He didn't have to do the sonar wave procedure, go through all of that. He was able to do his business travel. The following week, I'm working with him about cat allergies. So it works on all things. What else do you think shifted and changed in his life? Because we changed the energy frequency of those kidney stones. So other aspects of his life started also changing as well.
Yeah.
Well, and I want to ask you a question about that because it's, again, it's the synchronicities and like you said, our shared energy field now as well, right? So when we've had a hypnotist on before, guess who gets to be the guinea pig? Moi, right? Okay. So it's probably not a coincidence that this morning I woke up with some back pain that I haven't had for a little while, right? And so just like you were talking about this man with the kidney stones, a lot of times these energy blocks show up in some physical ailment, right? So, again, I have gone, for a long time, I was having this same kind of back pain, no excuse, no physical reason for it. And I've gone now probably a few months without really feeling it. But this morning, I'm feeling it again, right? Like this poking in my upper back near my right shoulder blade, where it just feels like there's something there, right? So when things like that happen too, are there maybe different parts of the body that mean certain things? Or again, how do you, because I don't have this gift yet of being able to read the energy like you do, but how do you know, or how do you start trying to help diagnose this with people when they have these things that come up?
Right. So for you, because of the location, I'm going to say it's like right here in you. Okay. It crosses between 2 areas. One is family and one is carrying burdens. So there's an energy of that you're carrying all the burden in a family or in a context of a relationship because it's your left side, it's your feminine side. So I know it has to do with a female or somebody in the family such as mom or grandma or. So we'd have to uncover that. What I would do, knowing that piece there, is I would ask you first, when you feel the energy and the pain that's poking at you there, what does it feel like? What energy or emotion is that?
Ouch. So let me think about that, because again, right, I haven't really thought about that, but this whole idea of family and burdens, yes, that does resonate with me, right, as well, because I'm the trustee for a couple of family trusts. There's some family dynamics and issues there. Me as far as the primary financial earner in with my wife. And it's interesting that you use the word burden, because another word that I will use sometimes is I feel heavy, which sometimes also goes back to the word sad, right? That sometimes when we feel heavy, when we feel burdened, we feel sad, and the energy that we let off is sad. And in fact, I've noticed that in myself, right? For a few years, I've been, rewind 2-3 years ago, I was much more sad than I am now, because I've been trying to, I'm stopped using the word trying. I am incorporating more fun in my life and being more fun and light instead of the heavy and sad, right?
Okay, so close your eyes for a moment.
Okay.
Where do you feel the sadness at in your body?
Again, right now, the only thing I'm feeling is that part in the back.
Okay. So when was the very first time you can remember feeling that energy in your back? You might have been little even. The burden of sadness.
This is where I struggle some. I've had very different sad things experienced in my life.
Mhm.
One before was when my brother died when I was a teenager.
Uh-huh.
But I'm sure there has to be things before and after and everything else too, right?
Yeah. So when you were a teenager, what age was that?
15.
So was there a time before 15 that you can remember a portion of that energy being in you?
I don't know. I mean, not right now.
Okay. So then what we would do if we were in an actual session, and you can open your eyes, is unravel what happened around those events and why that sadness got encoded there as one of the points of origin. And then it will open up the doorway and access it to a previous time to when it first started so we can change that energy. Because what happened here is, as much as you have done consciously to make these shifts and changes, there's a point somewhere in that time frame that your mind got stuck in a mind loop tying sadness to an event. So then it just keeps facilitating and rolling and going forward to the next layer, the next layer, the next layer, until we embody it. And then we have the pain in the shoulder around it. And then when we change it, what happens is that higher frequency comes in. And when it changes in that higher frequency, that higher frequency goes through every aspect of your body. This will stop. I'm also willing to bet that when this starts feeling and flaring up is when you, maybe even just a week or so before things start coming for like the trusts and the things with your wife. And so it's like a precursor to events that are coming because the body and the energy already knows.
Already
So
knows that it's coming.
right. And so there's a cyclical pattern that happens, and the body's starting to giving you indication that events are coming up, and it's keeping you stuck in this loop.
Mm. Yeah, because again, I mean, I'm I'm still working on tapping into feeling my energy more because I've been trained as a thinker, right?
Mhm.
I'm a CPA auditor by training. I mean, very analytical. And so I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I'm getting there, but it's interesting because, like you said, that burden and to me it kind of goes back to feeling the weight of caretaker responsibilities financially.
Right. And what is happening now, even though you're carrying it on your shoulder at the time with your brother, I would be willing to bet money that that sadness is in your heart space.
Yeah.
And that heartache and heartbrokenness that started, it just moved from here to back here, which is kind of almost the back side of the heart area.
Well, and what's interesting, right, is again, I feel the pain on the right side,
Mm-hmm.
but when I use a massager on my back, where I feel it at that point is the left side.
Yeah.
The left side is sore and is pulling the right side and feeling it on the right, but it's really the left where that energy is probably trapped.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So when you go through the whole process, that energy releases because it's the emotion and the feeling that gets tied. So if we stay in a lower energy vibration, such as sadness, eventually it does go into the physical body because it condenses our energy field. But when we're in the higher emotions, like the happiness and the joy and the peace, it expands out our energy field. And because it expands out, our energy is free flowing and fluid. You don't encompass it in the physical body.
Yeah. As a massage therapist and someone who studied with Louise Hay and all that sort of stuff, it's interesting because people come to me with physical issues, and I've had so many people on my table with low back pain, where some people, I know they lifted something heavy. It's a physical thing that might be an emotional or spiritual or energetic vulnerability for them, but they say, I pulled something playing tennis. Great. There are times though where I've got someone on my table and I'll go into the whole mind body thing and I'll say, well, low back is support issues, money issues, sex issues, relationship issues. And they go, Jesus, which one do you want to hear about first? Because there is that energetic stuff there. And I've said this to, construction workers and guys or plumbers crawling under houses who you would think their stuff is just, oh, I have a rib out. Because as soon as you said that, Jason, my first thought was, go to the chiropractor, you have a rib out. Not to say there's not an energetic component behind that. So I have this like massage anatomy brain and then this Reiki spiritual, energetic one. And I have to keep mixing the two of them. But it's interesting, I've had guys who are sure they just lifted something heavy and it turns out to be some deep-seated, sexual issue from childhood or their wife or their spouse or, so I'm loving this conversation. It's so fascinating. And, just having that quick reading with you, I could feel a shift, and it kind of changed my mind. Not changed my mind. It shifted my perspective on some of the blocks that I'm having. So tell us, we're getting close to running out of time. Tell us about the book. What is in the book? And then how can people book an appointment with you?
Oh my goodness. So Financially Fit is out and you can get it. Well, we'll give you guys the link. And it's really about the process and what's underneath all the hidden stuff in creating that world of wealth. So I share my story in the book, and I also make some relationship connectors to how money is energy, you are energy. So when we talk about ourselves, when I work with clients, often they get to the energy of, I want to feel worthy. I didn't know that, I wasn't appreciated. I'm not valued. And when we talk about money from a financial planning standpoint, well, here is your net worth. Your portfolio appreciated or depreciated this amount. Here is the value of your assets. And the universe is only reading the energy that you are frequency that you're sending out. It's not looking at it, well, it's only about money, not about everything else. And so it takes you through that to make that relationship connection that you are a divine essence, and how you feel about money is how money behaves, how money is behaving. There's a component to what is within you. And then I go through and talk about things that sabotage. You're sabotaging afterthoughts. I talk about the energies we need to be in, which I could have called virtues, how to manifest and create for purposeful creation, how it ties into sex, money, power, control. They're all interconnected. And then how to start really creating your own financial affluence story. So those are all the components in this one book. And I talk about that pivot and shift strategy and how to start using it for you. I also, to book a session with me, all you have to do is go to my website, dawnacampbell.com. And there's a link there that says sessions. You just click on it and then you can experience a session. I do have a program that's going to be coming out as well, the Financially Fit program. And I should have that here, well, within the next week or two, finalized. So if you wanted to go through the program training that goes with the book, you can do that as well.
Well, I'm guessing people, if they go to your website, dawnacampbell.com, when that comes out, it'll be linked there as well then too, right? And I think that's it. I'm glad that you're doing that too, because I have a training company and I've studied learning for a long time, and everybody thinks, well, I'm just going to go buy the book and that's going to give me all the answers and I'm going to be fine. Right? Reading a book is great. And I encourage books. I mean, we've all written books, right? and I love books, but having a program or going through a session with you actually puts it into practice. Because if you just read the book and put it on the shelf, it's shelf help, right? And so glad You haven't
Sorry,
heard that
never-
before?
never heard
Oh
that.
my gosh, that's huge in the education area. It's like, that's not self-help, that's just shelf help, because you read it, you put it on, you didn't do
Yeah.
anything different, right? Because that's where, if we're going to incorporate, if we're going to do these things, you actually got to do something different.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so having the program, having the ability to talk with you one-on-one, that's the doing to get the energies unblocked, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Books give you the foundation, and then you really have to either go through a session with some mentoring or the program to apply it.
I love it. I love it. So tell people again your website.
It is dawnacampbell.com. So
Yay.
DAWNA Campbell.com.
Awesome. 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 This was such a fantastic show. I'm so glad I met you. I love LinkedIn.
So
We just,
happy I connected with you guys. You guys
Yeah.
are amazing.
oh,
You really
thanks.
are.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. I don't remember how you and I connected. I think you reached out to me and we connected and I did the session and here we are. You never know where things are going to lead. The universe unfolds.
Oh, the intuition.
It unfolds exactly the way it's supposed to.
Exactly.
We're exactly where we're supposed to be. Excellent. Well, I'm Kathy Gruver. I can be reached at kathygruver.com.
And I'm Jason Mefford. I can be reached at jasonmefford.com. So go out, get Dawna's book. If it resonates to you, sign up with a session with her and get into her program. Because again, this is great stuff and it works. It works. So do it. And with that, we'll catch you on the next episode of the Fire and Earth podcast. See ya.
See ya.